Welcome back. You're still tuned in to News and Views of myself, Salailo Makwidiri. The time's 27 minutes past 9, and today is the World Marks World Humanitarian Day. We'll be turning our attention to some of the most overlooked work of those on the front lines of crisis, from conflict zones to communities devastated by poverty and natural disasters. Humanitarian organizations carry the weight of compassion and of relief. And one such organization is the African Muslims Agency, which has been at the heart of humanitarian efforts for decades, right here on the African continent and other parts of the world, which have benefited quite greatly from the work that they've been doing. And we're going to be reflecting on the day in itself, World Humanitarian Day. What does it mean for them? But also reflect and unpack some of the work and challenges that organizations like African Muslims Agency face. And to do that, we are really pleased to be joined by Ashraf Gangraker from our good friends at African Muslims Agency. Ashraf, thank you so much for joining us on your day, on the day that specifically celebrates and commemorates the work that you guys are doing and have been doing for quite a long time now.
Assalamu alaikum, Salalelo, and to the listener and viewership of Salam Media. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share some thoughts with you. It's great to speak. And so, this day is important. Not that we need the pats on the back, but the validation and the acknowledgement, it feels good. So, Lela, if you don't mind, I want to start off by first acknowledging that each and every one of us can be a humanitarian. And this is a crucial point for me, right? That you don't necessarily need to be part of an organization. That within your heart, when the flame of humanity burns, that you can do your part. And so for us, as somebody, alhamdulillah, it's been a privilege to be part of the humanitarian space, and obviously a part of African Muslims Agency. I want to make the point that, no matter where we look, we can certainly speak internationally, locally, as in South Africa, regionally in Southern Africa, we are in crisis. And to do nothing is quite honestly a sad indictment on anybody who will simply stand on the sidelines and watch.
Most definitely. And I want to touch on that last point. We've seen the world change quite drastically in, say, the last 10 years. Just from a humanitarian organization's point of view, African Muslims Agency, how have you seen the work that you do and the kind of, modus operandi of how you work kind of morph in the last few years, just looking at the current state of the world and how in itself has also evolved?
Yeah, sure. I think that's a crucial question. And I think we've seen it evolve in exceptionally dangerous ways. I acknowledge that the demand, the need for assistance will always be greater than the supply. That's a part that I actually do get. What the biggest situation has been, particularly in the areas of conflict, and let's be honest, particularly in the Middle East, in Palestine, has been the death of humanitarian workers. So that the notion of the safety of people who are there to assist those in need, their own safety has been incredibly compromised. And we saw some horror situations in Palestine, in Gaza. For example, what comes to mind immediately, excuse me, is maybe about a month ago when we had those ambulance workers simply targeted and taken out. And these were people with good intentions. They're going to go and help. In southern Lebanon, for example, and Lebanon's a country that AMA is particularly active, enormous amount of emergency personnel were killed. Thankfully, by Allah's mercy and grace, that hasn't always been the case in South Africa. But I don't think I'm going to sit here and only speak about AMA and how it affects us. What I do want to highlight, you talk about the last 10 years, has been the precarious and dangerous situation that humanitarian workers find themselves. Despite all of that, I want to acknowledge, and so that the world acknowledges today on World Humanitarian Day, the plight almost of the humanitarian workers. So it's not a question, Salelo, of a pat on the back, oh, guys, well done.
mm,
For me, it's an acknowledgement of the efforts, but also wanting to highlight the incredible danger under which these workers, the humanitarian workers, operate. And so, for us as an organization in Palestine, we've lost members of our team, as I know a number of international and indeed local organizations have done, so that the work has become not more difficult. The difficulty comes in seeing the depths of human suffering, and whether that's caused by war or it's caused by poverty, a natural disaster, that's part of the package. When, though, there is targeted aggression against humanitarian workers, that's been a very, very difficult pull to digest, and that's been a cause of immense sadness. But by the same token, alhamdulillah, what that's done is only strengthen our resolve to do even more, because that is
mm.
what it's going to take.
Mm. Let's focus a bit to our country, South Africa, the base of Africa Muslims Foundation. Just looking at how you have been working in South Africa and this humanitarian space within the realms of the country in itself, and how maybe you've also interacted with the different governments that we've had throughout the years. How would you assess that reality of the work that you've been doing internally here in South Africa?
Sure. I think this is, quite honestly, this is, the easy, it's easy to say, oh, charity begins at home. But it's a crucial point for anybody who works in this particular space. One is told repeatedly that, we are of the most unequal societies in the world. And so, alhamdulillah, I'm lucky to live in the most beautiful part of the world and sit in the most beautiful part of the country. I'm in Cape Town. And it's so easy to have your blinkers on and not understand the struggles of people on the ground. So two things for us as Africa Muslims Agency. So we would be working tirelessly with other community organizations. And our thinking behind this, Alilelo, is that we want to empower community-based organizations. So we're not here with a magic wand or the panacea to fulfill every need and great, we've got the magic, etc. So community-based organizations who are active daily within their community, we would be working to empower them. And so we spread this sense of empowering by whether it's assistance in, currently winter warmth by providing blankets and winter packs, other times just food parcels, or sometimes just the issue of empowering. I mean, in July, we were in the Eastern Cape, of the poorest provinces in our country, and we were distributing seedlings, I think of between 5 and 10,000 seedlings, so that communities were able to grow their own food. And so this relationship between our organization and community-based is based on empowering these other, I don't use the word smaller organizations, but you know what I mean, right? And by the same token, if they then grow, it means their communities benefit. Because interestingly, Salelo, and I'm going to stop at this point, the theme for this year's Humanitarian Day is, if you can help your mother, you can help your community too. Now, this is very interesting for me and very apt, I think, in particularly in the African context. The role of mothers is something that we all honor. And the notion is, if we can help our mother, we can help the community, because we know that very often, and particularly the legacies of the apartheid past, where men would become migrant workers and mothers often were heads of households. If we can help them, we can help the community. And so this, for me, filters down. When we are helping our mothers, we are able to help the community. So whether mothers are the primary caregivers in the home and they head civic organizations, we do our utmost to assist them to the best of our ability.
No, most definitely. Ashraf, one last question before I let you go. If you have a message to, the world, to South Africans and everyone listening on this very, very important day, World Humanitarian Day, not even from Africa Muslims Agency's perspective, but just generally, what message would you like to send out there?
Sure. I want to reiterate, my opening comments. You don't need to be part of an organization. You just need to be somebody who cares. And it's anybody and everybody is capable of this. You know, one of the most humbling experiences I have is when we go to Malawi. You know, these are our neighbors, man, and everybody who's listening or watching knows a Malawian, whether they're working in your garden or in the
Mm.
masajid or whatever the case may be. So we would give, say, particular households food parcels. And the first thing this lady does, I'm going to break this in half so my neighbor must get. And so, no matter how hungry I am, there is no notion of hoarding. There's only the notion of sharing. So that when I say if Allah has blessed us by means, right? And this is only what we are entrusted with. I'm saying it again. You don't need to be part of an organization to take care of your neighbor. You
Mm.
don't need to be part of any organization to perhaps assist with school uniforms for the, if you are fortunate to have a domestic, to say to the domestic, let me help you with school fees, or what does your child need at school? Never before, you know, inshallah, Allah, by Allah's will, things improve. Has there been this crisis for humanity in order to respond, meaning whether it's poverty, natural disaster, or war? You cannot stand back and say, well, great, someone else is going to take care of it. We are fortunate, by Allah's mercy and grace, that He uses us as vehicles. It doesn't, Allah can change anybody's condition and improve, right? But we are fortunate that He uses us as conduits, vehicles.
Mm.
And so certainly, you know, people contribute, but just in your own sphere. If you can take care of your mother, you can take care of the community. So get involved at a level that's manageable for you and say, within my social circle, within my community, in my street, what can I do? And once you've asked, what can I do? Then do. Action is required more than any before, instead of simply, you know, we don't mean, so there are a lot of people who are talking the talk. We need
Mm.
to walk the walk now. And that's my appeal to everybody.
Well, there you have it. Ashraf, Gangraker, African Muslims Agency. Always a pleasure chatting to you. And should we say happy humanitarian day?
Why not? To each and every one, bro. Absolutely.
There you have it. Always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Likewise. Thank you. Give salams.
That was Ashraf Gangraker from African Muslims Agency. And yeah, one of the organizations that we'll be talking to are very, very good friends at AMA about a day that commemorates, a day that celebrates the amazing, brilliant, beautiful work that they do to some of the most vulnerable in our communities, World Humanitarian Day. And yeah, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to stick with the theme of World Humanitarian Day. We'll be speaking to more organizations who are doing really, really wonderful work, not just here in South Africa, but across the globe, across the world. And they've been quite impactful in doing that. And today it's about them, it's about celebrating them, it's about understanding them, but most importantly, it's about learning from them. And we'll continue doing that after this short break.